Now, I have talked numerous times about Suikoden II in the past, and I am positive you guys are tired of me talking about it, but if you'll indulge me for just a second. I've said in the past how I discovered the game. I found it on a clearance rack at Toys R Us for $5. I picked it up expecting just bog standard JRPG fare, and what I ended up finding was my favorite video game of all time. What's going on, everybody? I'm Jay. Welcome to Square Pegs. Like and subscribe. Stick around. I'd love to have you be here. And playing that game again recently on the remasters, it got me thinking about other retro games that surprised me, and I want to give you 10. We're going to kick things off on the NES with a licensed game that I think at least meets, if not exceeds, the arcade original.
Alright, so launching on the NES here, we are going to talk about Captain America and the Avengers. Now, I love the arcade original. I even enjoy the Genesis and Super Nintendo versions of the game, but the NES version was something that I didn't play until a few years ago when Riggs told me how great it was in one of his videos, and I was like, he's full of it. There's no way this game is this good. And folks, it is amazing. It is one of the best action platformers on the NES and does something with the license that is ambitious because it doesn't try to replicate the experience of the arcade. It gives you something completely new. You get to play as both Cap and Hawkeye. It's got kind of a Bionic Commando-esque level system where there's a world map you're able to traverse around, which is really cool. Both characters play pretty much similarly, but they're different enough that you're going to be able to get enjoyment out of playing both as Cap and Hawkeye. I just love it. I think it's fantastic. And it was recently featured in the big Marvel collection that came out from Limited Run. So if you're looking for a way to play it on modern consoles, you can do that. It's definitely worth checking out, definitely worth playing, and something that completely caught me off guard. I wish I had played this one when I was younger. I completely avoided it because I loved the arcade version so much, and I figured there was no way that the NES could be as good as it is, and I think it might be better. PlayStation 1 now, the PSX, and this is one of my favorite series on the PlayStation, and one that just sadly died a death and we haven't seen any more of, and it's Pandemonium. Now, if you haven't played Pandemonium, it's an incredibly basic concept. It's a very simple game to understand. You move left to right, and you jump. You can play as either the girl or the jester, and that's pretty much it. There's not much going on there. It's a run-and-jump collect-a-thon, but I don't know why this game just really captivated me. I really think it's a fun title. Is it a little janky? Yeah, it's a little bit janky. It's a PlayStation game. There's always going to be a little bit of jank inherent in those titles, but if you can look past that, there's a lot of charm here and a lot of really fun gameplay that I think kind of shows off what the PlayStation really did by kind of evolving the industry as a whole, right? Like, we went from kind of basic games on the Genesis and the Super Nintendo and stuff like that, and then things really opened up on the PlayStation and made things more accessible, more interesting, and more enjoyable. Pandemonium is a basic game. It's very simple. It's very easy to understand. It's a 2.5D left to right side-scrolling collect-a-thon where you jump over enemies and you collect tokens, but man, if it isn't fun. I've loved Street Fighter since the first time I played it. I have never questioned my adoration of Street Fighter, so why is this on here? Because this is the 3DO version of Super Street Fighter II Turbo, not one that I expected to enjoy nearly as much as I do. And not one that I played until about 3 years ago when a Patreon supporter sent me a 3DO. Shout out to John. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate that. It's one that I was shocked played as well as it did because I didn't really expect much from the 3DO. It was kind of always thought of as the also-ran console, right? It was there, but it wasn't the one anyone gravitated towards. It was always something that was just kind of overlooked and not really thought about. So I never gave it a second thought, and honestly, I didn't even know there was a Street Fighter release on it until John sent me the 3DO, and it's really fun. It is such a solid implementation. The gameplay is smooth and fast and crisp. The controller is fantastic for it. It's just a great port. Like, it's one of the best versions of Street Fighter II Turbo I've ever played, and I love it. I was shocked by that. I couldn't believe how long I'd overlooked the 3DO when I finally got to play it, because I had a ton of fun with the games that were featured on it, but this one, I think, might be top of the list for me. I absolutely love it. Back to the NES now, and this is one that, while I was initially intrigued by the concept, looking at screenshots and Nintendo Power, I didn't really think I was going to like this, because, like, graphically, this game is not a powerhouse. This is a Boy and His Blob. And it wasn't something that I thought was going to be super enjoyable or one that I needed to jump all over and play. It was just one that I was like, okay, it's kind of charming, I'll check it out. And I got the game and was absolutely shocked by how much I loved it. I loved the idea of a puzzle platformer where it wasn't just trying to solve the puzzle that was going on, it was also using the different abilities and an inventory management game where you needed to make sure you were maintaining your jelly bean count to be able to utilize your blob as much as you could. Now, the game was incredibly difficult, and it wasn't something that I breezed through. In fact, I don't actually know that I've ever beaten it now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, but the charm and just the concept behind the game absolutely captivated me, and it's something that to this day I still love and still enjoy. And I was shocked at how much I did love it when I was younger, because I didn't expect to. All right, now moving on to Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. This is the Dreamcast version. Any version of this game is spectacular, whether you're playing the Dreamcast, the N64, the modern re-releases. But let me tell you, folks, when this game came out, we weren't exactly getting a ton of great Star Wars games on console. And the idea of a Star Wars racing game just made me kind of roll my eyes. Like, we had Bombad Racers and stuff like that, and that game was god-awful, and Episode 1 Racer might have come out before Bombad Racers, now that I'm thinking about it. I don't really remember. That's like 30 years ago, guys. I'm old, leave me alone. But it was one where I looked at the concept of it, and I was like, a Star Wars racing game is dumb. This is going to be awful. And I remember my friend Chris getting it, because Chris was all in on everything Star Wars. Anything Star Wars he bought, and he gave it its fair shake. And he didn't necessarily love everything, so when he said that this game was awesome, I was ready to try it out and see how it was. And let me tell you, it is one of my favorite racing games of that time frame. I love the different characters you're able to choose from. I love the different pods. I love the tracks. I think they did something really remarkable with the game, especially given the limitations of what the N64 was experiencing at the time. It was actually a really, really ambitious title that I think stuck the landing entirely. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. It's still fun to this day, too. Like I said, the modern re-releases are wonderful. So it's something that I think spans generations, and it's not something that's just a one-note thing from back in the 90s. And I mean, we're getting a new racing game from Star Wars this year, so there's a lasting appeal to it, and I think that's pretty cool. Panic Restaurant was just one of those goofy concepts that I looked at the box art, and this was years after it released, probably a couple of decades after it released, and I just kind of went, no, I don't care, I don't need to try that out. And it wasn't until probably 4 years ago where I actually finally played it. I think I did it for a ranking video. And I was blown away by this game. Like, how did I not give this thing the time of day? Like, that's a failing on my part, first off, because I had been told it was excellent. But looking at it, I was just like, there's no way. It's just a platformer. It's an NES platformer. How great can it be? And folks, it's great. It's absolutely great. It's such a wonderful game. It's creative, it's fast, it's got great animation and memorable enemies and stuff like that, because they're all food, and you fight with a frying pan, and you're an old chef. Like, it is a concept that on paper does not work, and it is a concept on a box art that you look at and you go, that's dumb, I don't need to play that. But you are selling yourself short, and you're doing yourself a disservice if you haven't played this one. Now, it's expensive. It's definitely going to be something where you're going to be forking out some cash to be able to play it, but there are other options out there where you can emulate it, or you can try it on like a multicade console or something like that. So if you are interested in playing Panic Restaurant, there are options out there. It's worth it. It's definitely worth seeking out. I think it's a fantastic game. I think it might be one of the best platformers on the NES, but that's just my opinion. Let me know. Have you played Panic Restaurant? I'd love to hear from you. This one shocked me just because I hate fishing, and I did not expect to like Sega Bass Fishing. And you might be looking at this and saying, well, yeah, Jay, but it's the Dreamcast fishing pole controller that's doing all the heavy lifting here. It's a peripheral. It's silly, right? And yeah, to a degree, yeah, the fishing pole definitely has something to do with it. But I played this again on Steam, and I don't have a fishing pole controller for Steam, and the game is still fun. The game is still fantastic, and it somehow makes the most boring experience on the planet of fishing enjoyable. I just think that Sega at this time frame were masters at taking concepts and creating fun, wonderful arcade games out of them, rather than just kind of leaning into like a sim or something like that, which they very easily could have done with a fishing game. No, instead they made an action-packed arcade experience, which, when it's talking about bass fishing, why? Why would you do that? And then you play it and you understand the sheer brilliance behind it, because it's absolutely wonderful. It's fun. It's not a challenging game. Like, there are challenges to it. There are things that are more difficult than others, but if you can figure out how to reel your line in and not break it when you're reeling in, it's a really easy concept, and it's a really easy game to play. It's just so beautifully well done, and they knocked it out of the park. It's a 10 out of 10. Space Station Silicon Valley on the N64 was a game that when I got an N64 and I asked for suggestions on games to get, this was one of the first ones that was suggested. And looking at the concept of it, I was just kind of like, that looks pretty silly. Like, I don't really understand it. But getting it home and playing it, it was something that I really enjoyed. So it's kind of a level-by-level collectathon. You take control of animals. I think they're robots. And you have to use the animals that you control to go around each level and solve puzzles and do some basic platforming stuff. It's a really interesting concept because on face value, you're going to look at that and go, that's dumb. But when you actually get into game and you actually experience it, it's unbelievably well done. The idea of the game is silly. The implementation of the concept is silly because, like, taking control of robot animals is dumb, but it's the execution that excels, and the game is really, really fun because there's a lot of really fun puzzle solving and just like level traversal stuff that I didn't really see in some N64 games. Like some of the big name ones, obviously, like, you know, the Banjo-Kazooies and the Marios and stuff like that really knocked it out of the park. But to get something like Space Station Silicon Valley from a company that I wasn't familiar with, they eventually became Rockstar North, was really surprising, and they just executed perfectly. It's a wonderful game. Now, stop me before you burn the house down. Power Stone is on this list because the only reason I didn't want to play it was because I did not like 3D fighters at the time. So this is one that when I first saw it, I really was intrigued by the concept of it, but I was a snob. I was a Street Fighter purist. I liked 2D Street Fighter. So seeing a 3D arena fighting game, I was like, oh, I'm not going to like this. This is not going to be enjoyable. And, I mean, you guys have heard probably, if you've been on the channel before, you've heard my story. I used to go to an arcade near my house called Rocky's Replay. I walked in one day, and there was a Power Stone cabinet, and I was kind of transfixed by the colors and the action, but I was never a fan of arena combat stuff like that, so I didn't think I was going to enjoy it. And I didn't play it at first. Like, there was probably a few weeks where I would just go, and I'd see a few folks on it, but I was like, no, I was happy to play on MVC2. I was happy to play on Street Fighter 3 or Street Fighter Alpha. And I would play on those, and then I kept seeing more and more people on the Power Stone cabinet. So finally one day I decided, swallow your pride, try it out, give it a shot. And I loved every second of it, and I still love it to this day. It is such an incredible concept of a game and such an incredible, well-executed design that just shows how incredible Capcom was at making fighting games at the time, because they could have just relied on their 2D fighting standard. Instead, they thought outside the box and gave us something remarkable. Power Stone is a brilliant game. It's a brilliant title with a massive, massive following now, but when it first released, I was skeptical. This last one, Final Fantasy X2. So why is this on the list? Mainly because I didn't like Final Fantasy X when it released. I thought the Blitzball stuff was kind of boring. I thought the game was kind of slow to get into and slow to understand. And I just didn't have the patience for it at the time. Like, I was such a huge fan of Final Fantasy VI that 7 was a massive letdown. I liked 8 a lot more, and I loved 9. Like, I thought 9 was as close to the pinnacle of the series as we were going to get compared to 6. And then 10 came out, and I was just like, oh, it's back to more 7 style and more 7 design. And I wasn't intrigued. I didn't care. So when 10-2 came out, I didn't care more for some reason. Like, I wasn't excited to play a game featuring characters I didn't care about. Like, it was something that I didn't give a crap. So I didn't play it for decades, like legitimate decades. And it wasn't until it re-released on the Switch that I finally gave it a shot. And I actually ended up doing that in a Final Fantasy ranking video where I finally played it. And I'm telling you guys, I was really, really happy with this game. I was shocked at how much I enjoyed it. And I actually think it's better than Final Fantasy X. Like, one of the problems I think with Final Fantasy X is bloat, and the characters aren't really all that interesting or intriguing, and no one really gets time to shine outside of Tidus, and Tidus is kind of boring. But the girls for Final Fantasy X-2 were given time to be on stage and kind of time in the spotlight, and they were all interesting. They were all well performed. The writing was good. The gameplay was fun. It was a better Final Fantasy X. Like, if this had just been the Final Fantasy X experience, I think it would have been incredible. I don't know. I just really like this one. I think it's better than the original, and I think it's a great title, and I wish I had played it sooner.
My game, my list, my 10. I would love to hear from you, though. Let me know in the comments down below what retro games surprised you that you didn't expect to love as much as you do. especially if it's something kind of out of the blue and obscure. I'd love to hear about it. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing to stick around, and until next time, remember to play more games, stay square, and take care. I'll talk to you soon.